Hi, let's create a .NET 8 and React.js Clean Architecture Cloud solution. We are going to use a well-known .NET template by Jason Taylor. Let's search the most downloaded Clean Architecture template and install it via the .NET CLI. Cool stuff. Now let's create a C# solution from the template. There's a range of front-end frameworks we can use with the template. Let's use React.js for this demo. Now, let's take a peek at how the code looks like. The presentation layer is represented by the web project, which is comprised of the ASP.NET API and the React.js application. As you can see, package versions are managed centrally for all projects. This avoids package version mismatches. Let's build our solution. As you can see, since .NET 8 was recently released, there are unsupported packages. Let's fix this particular in Swag issue. There was a templates directory which was missing. Now the build should be fine. Let's debug the solution. This will launch to the ASP.NET API, the React UI project, and the API proxy. The API is protected by an identity provider, so we need to log in to make API calls. Let's find the default username and password. After the login, our front-end can now make API calls. Next, let's install the GitHub CLI so we can manage our repository. Let's authenticate against GitHub. Now, let's push our changes to GitHub. As you can see, the Clean Architecture template includes a GitHub action, which builds our solution, then pushes it to a cloud provider. In this case, Microsoft Azure. The GitHub action fails when attempting to log into Azure. Let's fix this. Download and install the Azure CLI. Then authorize to your Azure subscription. After that's done, if you get a not found error, then it means your GitHub repository isn't public. Let's make it public and retry the setup script. Now everything works as is expected. Let's let the GitHub action run. Let's explore the generated code in the meantime. You'll see that the solution is properly split into the presentation, infrastructure, application, and domain layers. This makes it easier to structure your code. The code uses minimal APIs. These are then grouped and implemented in separate classes for each feature. When an endpoint is invoked, a request is sent via Mediator. A registered request handler will then perform the necessary action. Service-to-service communication isn't covered in this template. We cover that in a separate video, using mass transit events. Let's see how our GitHub action is progressing. Deployment to the development environment has started. In this template, cloud environments are represented by Azure resource groups. Let's go to the Azure portal to monitor our deployments. Navigate to portal.azure.com. Search for resource groups. You'll see your resource group as the name of your solution, and an environment shorthand as a suffix. You should start to see some deployments being populated as the GitHub action progresses. Your Azure Key Vault, where your connection string and other secrets are stored, as well as your App Service Plan, where your Azure App Services will be hosted. The infrastructure is provisioned through a bicep file. This provisions all the resources needed to host the web application in Microsoft Azure. The app service has been successfully deployed to the development environment. Let's navigate to it through the generated, fully qualified domain name. As you can see, our application has been successfully deployed. Let's register a new user so we can access the API. Just like that, we are registered and are able to call the API. The Swagger page is also ready. The deployment to all 3 environments is now finished successfully. Next, let's make a modification to test that the push webhook has been successfully set up. It's important for you to see the type of resources provisioned so you determine how much it will cost you. As you can see, the changes are reflecting in all 3 environments. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Let's modify the template's GitHub documentation to include all the observations we've made. Remember to remove all the created Azure resource groups so that you don't accumulate costs.